Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today we're going to work on a drag system. And I just got a question in just as I was finishing up on this beautiful Penn SpinFisher 710 reel. And the question was, how do I replace the drag washers in the SpinFisher Greenie? So we're going to use this one as an example and follow along with me and you'll see. But we're also going to talk a little bit about how a drag washer actually works, and when you need to service them, and how do you tell if they need replacement or not. We'll try and cover all of those topics as we take apart the reel and show you the insides of it. So this is the Penn 710. It's a SpinFisher. Most of the SpinFishers, at least these and the black and golds, kind of had the same setup here. They have a drag stack. It has 3 washers in it and 3 metal washers in it. And the drag stack early on was leather, and then they changed over to the HT100s. It'll be interesting to see what we have in here. The fellow that did send this reel in told me that he would like to have the drag washers replaced. Now, drag washer wear is generally told by 2 things. Either the drag washers are not holding when you're fighting a fish. You'll find that it slacks, that the spool will turn backwards and let out line, and there's nothing you can do. No matter how tight you have this drag adjuster down, the line continues to spin. That's a telltale sign of a worn drag washer. The other one is a little bit more interesting, equally ineffective, but you either have all drag or you have no drag, and that's because the drag washers in the stack will freeze with the metal ones, and that happens by water getting in here. As you notice, the spool does a pretty good job of covering, but there's a lip here, and all of the line that comes in as you're winding that has water on it. Some of it is going to get underneath here. It's going to go only one place it can go, which is into the hole here, and over time, if that water has micro sands or salts or dirt and dust or whatever in there, it's going to kind of jam up inside here, and as it jams up, it tends to freeze those leather washers in particular with the metal washers, and you'll either have all drag or you'll have no drag. So we're going to take this apart. We'll show you what the drag stack looks like. We'll find out what's going on with these. We'll do the upgrades. I just ordered some new washers from mysticparts.com. and we'll go ahead with the replacement. Some of these drag stacks have a 5-sided spring that holds it's a retention spring, holds it in. It rides in a little groove. This one has a solid C-clip type spring. So you want to find a very small wedge that you can put behind there. I'm going to use a micro screwdriver. I'm just going to pick it out, and as you saw, that thing just shot. I just got lucky. I'll be the first to say that. Keep your fingers over it. These things shoot, and then you'll be spending an awful lot of time looking for that. I like to put that into my parts tray. That way I won't lose it as I go to reinstall. And I also like to thank our first responders and essential personnel and all of the folks that are involved in keeping us safe during the pandemic. Without your efforts, we would be in a far worse place. That's all our uniformed services. That's the folks in the transits, and that's the folks delivering our goods on a day-to-day basis. Thank you for everything it is that you do. Let's pull out the drag stack now. So what we have is, well, we have 3 metal washers, no drag washers. Well, that's interesting in and of itself, isn't it? Well, you can't have a very effective drag system without drag washers. So it's a good thing that I went about ordering these, and we'll show you kind of the principles behind these. So there's 2 pieces that have to lock in to immobilize a spool and really tie it down. The first is going to be controlled by the axle shaft. Now the axle shaft in this case is pinned inside here. We can probably take it off and show you how that one works. So this axle shaft is not going to move. Most axle shafts will not move other than up and down. But you can see the axle shaft comes through the pinion gear and it locks in with a screw on the crosswind arm. So this one is not going to turn left to right. That's kind of locked to the reel. So you have to figure out how to lock the spool to the axle shaft. Well, there's two things that go on. The first one is locking the spool to the axle shaft. So these two washers are called keyed washers, and they indeed will not move when they are on the axle shaft. So that's the first part of the drag system. The second one will move. But if you notice, one is round on the outside, one is round on the inside. So even though this will lock to the axle shaft, it won't lock to the spool. It's just going to spin inside the spool. There's nothing grabbing it. The one with the hole on the inside will spin on the axle shaft, but it's a hex, and it's going to lock the spool and not turn in there. So what you're looking for is a way to get tension on here, everything from very little to a lot, and the drag washers serve that purpose. So we have modern HT100 drag washers that we're going to work with. Each SpinFisher takes 3, and we're going to alternate. We're going to put a drag washer in, and then we're going to put a metal washer to lock the axle shaft, a drag washer, and then we're going to lock the spool, a drag washer, and then the final one up top to lock the axle. So when the tension is limited, these friction washers are going to spin. That's going to give you the tension on there. And when you press down completely, you will remove all of the tension, and you will have a drag. So you have a variable drag depending on the tension and the washers. Okay, I like to put the spool on when I do this. And I like to use drag grease. I'm going to use Cal's Universal Drag Grease on these. Now, the drag grease doesn't do anything in terms of increasing the drag tension or the max drag or anything like that. What the drag grease does is keeps the washers from drying out and becoming brittle. All right, first one up is the keyed washer. Then we're going to go ahead and put that in. And this is going to go over the two flat sides on the pinion, and it's going to nestle into the spool. All right, next one up, we're going to do the same thing with the washer. We're going to give it some drag grease. Now I'm not over greasing, I'm just a light coat. So the next one up is the round one, but the hex that's going to hold the spool tight. That goes in, and then one more of these. I'm going to grab the side. And again, if you had too much, go ahead and wipe it off with a paper towel. That's plenty. I'm going to bring that up next. And the last one here has 3 raised little dots on it, pimples kind of, that faces out. That's going to give you a little click warning when you are rotating away from the reel. And on the back here you can see that you have the corresponding dimples in this adjuster. So as the spool is turning out, you're going to have that little raised pimple hit the dimple, if you will, and click, click, click. Interestingly enough, somebody asked me why they have a weak noise alert on the big old Penn International series, and that's exactly the click mechanism that they use. They use the ball and a dimple kind of a setup for their noisemaker. Tighten this down. When you don't tighten it down all the way, here you go. You have a spool that's moving. And of course, you need to do a lot of adjusting on this because, well, we just put them in and they're all loose. Okay, so we're tight. Back it off a little bit. You have the play. And then you just want to set it and forget it. So if you're fishing for fighting fish that you know are always going to burn drag, set it in the beginning, and then let it go. Don't adjust during the fight. If you know you're on the bottom and you're relatively overfished in terms of your line weight and everything, and you don't expect to use the drag, then tighten it down, and you'll be fine. So that's it. That's the principles of why a drag stack is what the drag stack is. Goes back a long way. I believe it was Julius von Hoff that introduced the drag system a long time ago, back in the early 1900s, and he did that with the star adjuster on a conventional reel, and then that star adjuster was adapted for spinning reels the way you see them now. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please like it. If you'd like to see more of these, please subscribe. If you do, please hit the notification button. That way you'll see all of the videos that I post. And if you're like the fellow here, you have a reel that needs to be serviced, but you're not up for doing it yourself, then please contact me on the business card and the information that follows. Please send an email, and if you do that, I will be happy to provide you with the repair information. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day. Please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching.